Welcome one and two and everyone who's here. I hope you're doing good. Welcome to Ask Broman episode 99. This is our first, attempt or return to an all Q&A episode. I wanted to see if we could still pull these off, or if we want to have guests every week. So that's the point of this week. I hope that, you're enjoying it. 99 is not as bad as 69. Yeah, so I'll just go off. I'll go ahead and say at the beginning, thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to ask a question on voice, or if you're here live, I would prefer to actually talk to you because that'd be awesome. So you can go to discord.gg/broman and hop in the Ask Broman waiting room, and Alex will get in there and vet your questions. But yeah, so it's been a pretty eventful year. I figure since we've had guests on every week, and we haven't really had a time to just talk about this on the podcast. It's been a pretty eventful year for streaming. 2019 saw the initiation of something that we've talked about on the podcast for a long time. You can go back and check out some of our first episodes. I think the first time we talked about it was like episode 4, 2.5 years ago. But one of the big things that happened last year was the streamer war, where platforms are now acquiring individuals to move them, say, I like your content so much, I want you to do it here. Today was like the fourth wave of announcements of people transitioning away from Twitch to go exclusively to live streaming other places. I think it was a big group of folks that were going to YouTube today, which I think is... which is why I think it's so important for, us to sort of talk about and frame things the way that they want to be. Just a side note for everyone who's watching, the asset on the stream says Ask Broman 97, and it should say Ask Broman 99, and it is confusing the people who are watching, and that is not a good thing. That is a bad thing. So yeah. Housekeeping. So a bunch of people went to YouTube. There's I don't have everyone's names. There was a couple of people from the 100 Thieves team, along with some other longer time Fortnite creators on Twitch. But I think that the very interesting thing about everything that's happening is now that everyone is treating streaming and content creators like they are a limited resource, because they are. You're starting to see this transition from where we're at right now, which is everybody sort of siloed off, streaming where they want. You can still play video games with whomever you want, or anything like that. But the logical conclusion of where we're at right now, or where I think everything is heading, and this, again, it's my opinion, I think that that everything is heading that direction. It's there now, and I think next we're going to be looking at a situation where everything is maybe even a little bit more separated, or we end up with the old Hollywood system where it's like, these are the Mixer, this is the Mixer content team, and they all do stuff together here, and this is the Twitch content team, and you can only do stuff on Twitch. Because one of the things that you've probably noticed throughout all of 2019 is that with all of these deals that got signed, you'll notice that some of them have been exclusive. And you see people not streaming on multiple platforms. They move somewhere, and that's the only place where their content lives. But one of the things that you'll also notice is that there are still contracts out there, or apparently, after people have done big moves, they end up streaming in more than one location, which means exclusivity wasn't present there. Exclusivity is how businesses make sure that they have products that other people can't get a hold of. So one of the interesting things that I think is going to be coming out of the next few years in streaming is it will be interesting to see how these incredibly large companies interact with each other, and how they end up with, or how we're going to end up with, singularly structured things across all of the different platforms. So yeah, that was just sort of something I've been thinking about and reading about for a while. If you have any questions about anything we're talking about, you can always hop into chat and ask there too. We don't have a lot of people who want to be on voice, which I actually find really interesting considering how often I get asked questions. But until we get some folks vetted and through, then we'll just be going through these questions here on Twitter. And you know what? Here's my favorite part about this. I am more than happy to admit that people don't want to do Q&A anymore, and we'll just turn this into an interview-style podcast every week, and that is super easy for me. Yeah. So, dang kids. So this is actually a fantastic question from Doug or Not, and I think this is a question that everybody deals with when they start streaming, or it's just something that, like, there's no really awesome advice about it, or there's no really simple answer. But what is the best way to get people to come and stay in your stream? Hitting 8 hours with no viewers is rough. So that's really two questions. So we'll take that apart. The first question is, how do you keep viewers? And that's a completely different question than I'm streaming to 0 viewers for 8 hours. If you're streaming to 0 viewers for 8 hours right now, I have a really important piece of advice for you. Currently, you should probably not be streaming 8 hours. The best advice I would give to you, if you're not having anyone show up to your stream, kind of echoes a lot of what you've been hearing from the YouTubers that have been on. It's time to go and figure out where the eyeballs are at. And then you need to transition those eyeballs to your stream. For me, when I got started, I started with a base of, 5 to 10 viewers because I was very active on the Speed Demos Archive forums, and I had other people who speed ran the games that I did. So there was this built-in community of people that were going to show up. So I never had 0 viewers. And in fact, the people who were there were really engaged and talkative. So anyone who showed up felt welcome. I think that is the simplest strategy to start your channel. If you're streaming 8 hours to 0 viewers, maybe stream 2 hours or 4 hours so that you still develop the skill of streaming and entertaining and being live for that long. But more importantly, I think you should go somewhere else, like Reddit, as Jez suggested, or just being incredibly active in other people's chats. This is a fantastic piece of advice that I feel like not enough people take advantage of. If you are in chats and you are active constantly on Twitch, people know who you are. They know your name. They know your sense of humor. They know who to associate you with. So they're going to associate you with the games and the streamers that you watch. There are some people who, from my stream, who have been incredibly active in my chat and then go on to start streaming on their own. And then they get their initial viewers from my chat or someone else's chat because they're streaming at a different time than me and they've already built up rapport. So that is how to go from 0 viewers to 10 consistent viewers. The other side of that question is, how do you get and retain viewers? So this is a game of chance. You never know what somebody is going to, and I see something in chat that I want to address. We'll address it now. So some people will listen to what I just said and they will say that is leeching. That's a really unfortunate way to think about marketing 101. Leeching anywhere is intentionally trying to take people away from the thing that they are currently enjoying and forcing them to watch your stuff. So this would be stuff like going into a Twitch channel and spamming your Twitch link saying, come watch me, I'm live. Or doing like that really shitty middle of the road stuff like, oh man, I just got done streaming, I'm so tired. Or thanks for hanging out today, everybody, I'm going to go stream. So you can go ahead and think that marketing 101 and making people familiar with you and your brand is leeching. But I will tell you that if that is where your mind is at right now, you're going to have a really, really hard time evolving forward as a person, especially as a broadcaster, because you need to get comfortable with what marketing yourself looks like. Marketing yourself can look like standing on the side of a road in a clown costume and trying to hope that people will turn in to pay attention to, your product in there. But most people aren't going to turn into the scary clown street, but they might go check out a business that looks welcoming after they drive by it 100 or 200 times. It's the same thing when we're talking about growing your brand or growing attention for what you are and who you do. You are going to these people's channels to add value to that chat. You're going to go in there and you're going to talk about shit that matters. You're going to it's entertainment and meeting people 101, right? You have to prove that you're personable, and you do that by having good conversations in context. And if that idea is you just can't wrap your mind around it, you're probably going to have a hard time. So that is the long discussion on how to get your first set of viewers, so you're not streaming to 0 viewers for 8 hours a day. So going from that, sorry, I have to type in chat because no one else is answering their questions. We'll just cut that out. So that's how you get your first viewers. Now, getting people to stay on your stream is a numbers game. There's a whole lot of stuff on the Twitch blog, and I'm actually going to bring this up while we're talking. There's a whole lot of stuff on the Twitch blog and the creator studios and things like that, that Twitch is starting to build out features, with their back-end design team to really tell you, these are the things that are going to help engage your community over time. There was recently a pretty large blog post that they put out about things that you can do when people visit your channel that increase their likelihood to stay. Like, most people who are going to follow your channel do so within the first 30 seconds of being there. Most people who stick around and watch your channel for a long period of time are going to be people that you engage with by name. These are going to be people that you're, trying to connect with. So when it comes to retaining viewers, it's about building relationships. I have always made sure to make it a personal practice to not treat everyone in my channel like they're just a number. They're a person with a family, or maybe they don't have a family. But whoever they are, they have a life and they are a person, which means there's an infinite amount of things that you can connect to, you can connect with people about. So instead of just being like, I hope they show up and stay, you need to take an active role in doing that. And one of my favorite pieces of advice, because a lot of folks will say, that's cool, but I have people show up and they don't talk and blah, blah, blah. This is still the number one piece of advice I can get to anybody who is trying to get used to streaming and talk about nothing. Write down your 10 most favorite things to talk about. Talk about number 1 and then number 2 and then number 3 to yourself, even if no one is talking back to you, ad nauseum, from item number 1 to item number 10, and then repeat that. That is a pretty easy way to make sure that you keep yourself talking. So, all right, we finally got some folks that are lining up in Discord, so that's fantastic. Remember, if you are trying to catch this live and you want to ask a question, you can go to discord.gg/broman. You can hang out in the Ask Broman waiting room. It is super obvious where you need to be. Because I like to have people on voice. We do take questions from Twitter, and I do engage with chat, but this is a voice podcast, and I want people to hear your voice. So I hope that answers your question, Doug, or not. I know that viewer retention is a huge thing, but I think that the simple practice of engaging with with people while they're there and training yourself to talk all of the time and engaging and having a good time by yourself is going to get the people who are showing up to stay. So I think we're ready for our first person. If we could go ahead and get the Music Man in here with me, that would be excellent. I am muted in Discord right now. So we'll figure that out in a second. While we are figuring out how to unmute me in Discord, I'll take the next question. So this is actually a question I get a lot, and we haven't addressed it in a while. So if you've heard this before, I apologize. I'm going to be full-time streaming, which would be wise. What would be wise to do? Switching to business internet line for not having lag or issues versus residential internet line that I'm using now. So ultimately, the issue that's coming across when you're dealing with residential versus business line is you're going to basically be working off reliability. Business internet and residential internet are usually going to be running along the same pipes, so you might not actually be getting a better fidelity signal to your house or wherever you're streaming from just by upgrading to business line, unless they write that explicitly. For example, when I lived in Indiana and I started streaming, I had a residential Comcast line that had like 6 upload, and I never dropped a frame on that. I moved to St. Louis and I was on like AT&T, and even though I had like 25 upload, I would drop frames all the time. And then I moved, to my new place here in Florida. And we had a whole bunch of issues. We moved in there, and so we got a business line, and that didn't fix it. And so, for us, it was financially prudent to upgrade to like an enterprise line where we have a dedicated tube that's just for us. But when it happens, when you happen to find a place that has great internet, it's probably going to work for you, residential or business. That's not really going to make a huge difference. So to go a little bit deeper on this question and to answer the problem that I think folks probably have with this is if you're worried about your internet's reliability, as someone who's had to deal with terrible internet and streaming, even as a full-time broadcaster, I would say that it is incredibly difficult, to grow when you're having all of these issues. And your only recourse, at least that I have found, is move, which is not what anyone wants to hear, or call your ISP provider every single day until they fix it. And maybe they won't be able to fix it, or they're not smart enough, or they don't care enough, or you're going to run into a whole bunch of different problems. But the only foolproof advice I can give anybody about internet is move. If it's really, really bad. So I've got that. I see we're still working on everyone coming in a Discord. If they're talking, I can't hear them. So we're just going to keep going down these questions here on Twitter. How do you overcome the fear or worry that no one would ever watch a stream or listen to whatever content you produce? So this isn't something I've ever dealt with personally. Like, you're always going to be nervous, like, what if no one shows up? But for me, it's like, this is a viewer-driven show, so if nobody shows up, we don't have a show, so that's a concern. But to me, like, streaming, making content, all that stuff was really natural. It felt like an extension of the hobby that I was already engaging in. But if you're sitting there and you're concerned that no one is going to watch what you're making, you need to realize that nobody wanted to watch anything that anyone made the first time they made it. You can pick any YouTuber, any Twitch streamer, any Instagram star, like whatever. At some point, they were at their whole weighted internet scale was at 0. And they probably made content that people didn't watch. I don't think you should be afraid of people not watching your content. I think that you should be afraid of not making it. Nobody is going to find it if you never make it. Worrying about whether or not someone might like it, I think, is relatively unimportant. You need to figure out how to define you need to have a quality bar. And whatever that quality bar might be, you can say, I don't want to put content out that is like below this level of quality. But you might also be in a situation where you're like scared someone won't like it. And those are two different things. Making sure that like your microphone's functioning is different than I'm not going to stream or put out a YouTube video or whatever because I'm actually scared that no one will watch it. I think that you would be surprised how special it is when you put something out and you kind of have the expectation that nobody is going to watch it. My second stream ever, my first stream that I ever did was like a Borderlands speedrun, so I had those people there. The second stream I ever did was Lego Lord of the Rings with, I guess now my ex-wife, on an Xbox. And it was literally just me and one other person in chat, and we talked for like 3 hours. His name was like Black Ryan 952 or something. And that was it. Like we just hung out. We had fun and talked about Lord of the Rings. And that interaction is something that I still remember because that was the first time somebody just found my stream. And interestingly enough, that individual has come back only one time 7 years later, or a little, I guess 6 years later. But we had a genuine connection and we had a legitimately good time. And I think that when you are concerned about folks not enjoying it, when you're not making something that you want to make simply because you're concerned about its reception, I think you're in a bad place and you need to realize that what you want to make is special. Like your perspective, your thoughts, your take on whatever it is, like that's what's going to make your content unique, and nobody else has lived your experience and then made a piece of content after living your experience. It's always going to be unique. And I don't know. This is why I like doing this on voice when we can. I don't know what the particular hang up is that's preventing you, pleb of plebs, from that is the @ on Twitter, by the way. I don't know what it is that is causing this fear, but if it is other people, their opinion of what you're doing is so radically unimportant to the quality of what your actual product is. You're the determining factor on whether or not something you make is good, not how many likes it gets. I don't know if we have the audio situation resolved. It sounds like we do. So we're going to take our first caller, hopefully. Just go ahead and drop them on in when they're ready. Looks like they are muted. So hopefully they were told to unmute. And we'll just wait for them to talk. Hello. You're incredibly quiet for me. Sorry, that's I'm just giving instructions to the people who are running the sound. So why don't you let everybody know who you are?
Hey everyone, I am Lumpy Shinobi. I've been a streamer for the last 2 years.
Okay. I think we've talked previously, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I think
Good.
I was on episode 3 and another episode after that, and I've been on the Broman Podcast multiple times.
Yeah. Cool. So what can we do for you?
Yes. What would be your top 5 tips for viewer retention? Like making sure people can come back to your channel,
Sure.
are excited when you come on, stuff like that.
Yeah. So we already talked about this a little bit earlier, but we can always go into more detail. I mean, the 5 things that I know that I intentionally do because to make people feel welcome. I greet people by name. I cannot stress enough the value of just saying hello to like everyone that you can see in your chat. Like right now, like, hey Cats, hey Badass, hey Rylek, hey Old Nerd Dude, what's up Big Cheese, thanks for the sub, hey Jura OC, what's up Shweeby, hey Cell Games, hey Mad Sapper, what's up Nightshade, thanks for showing up. Like that has value to everyone's name that I just said, right? And that's a little bit of like behind the scenes, but I want people to know that I see them, and that's important. So, yeah. So, greeting people by name, engaging with their interests. So obviously people are there to watch you because they are interested in either you or what you're playing. But engaging somebody with things that they are interested about, and it might just be the game that they're watching, or it could be something like cooking or comedy or food or cleaning or like whatever it is that they are like super in love with. Like maybe they just bought a new vacuum. Maybe you want to talk about vacuums for 15 minutes. So there's so many like different ways to interact with people. So one is recognize people by name. Two, interact with things, interact with people about their interests. The show is just as much about them as it is about you and building that relationship. That's where the entertainment, at least for the way I run things, comes from. Three, on-screen notifications are huge. People who use follower notifications or notifications for things in general have higher retention metrics because people will follow because they want to see their name on the screen, and they'll hang around because they feel recognized because their name was on the stream. That's a two-sided sword. Some people will never follow because they're like, I don't want my name up there, or like I've been here for a really long time, but I never followed. Now I feel bad. But those are side cases. Four. Keeping a consistent schedule is huge in retention. And this is the one that terrifies everybody, and it's also the easiest one to leave out if it doesn't fit your life. But being live the same times every single day will do wonders for you because people will tune in and know when to watch you. And then they'll know what time you stop streaming. So they'll know when to expect you. Building anticipation and schedule inside of their lives in order to make sure that they get to watch your content. And then 5, I think it's make sure that you are having a good time with what you're streaming. Because nothing turns people off more than like tuning into a stream and seeing somebody like playing a game, but they're absolutely miserable.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I'm just gonna let the name. Oh wait, let me. Can I shout myself out? Or...
Yeah, of course, man.
Oh, well, right now I'm taking a small little break from streaming, so I kind of just want to shout out my Twitter.
Sure.
And because I'm not going to be streaming anytime soon, but I'm still active on my socials, so you can follow me on Twitter at OnePieceShinobi, all one word.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Okay. You have a good one.
Thank you so much, bro, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a good day.
You too. Viewer retention is like a really complicated thing. I mean, like there's, getting people to stick around and watch whatever they're looking at. There's an entire degree field. It's marketing. So that's the, that's why it seems like a complicated and scary thing. Ultimately, I think that if you are like quadruple guessing yourself about like, why is nobody staying? I think that ultimately, like, it's going to come down to you haven't been doing this long enough to worry about it. And if you have, maybe it's time to look at other approaches and learn from other people in the space or try other things to figure out ways to get the retention. Like if you've been streaming for 5 months and consistently and you're like, I don't understand why anyone can stay. It's probably the inconsistent schedule and the fact that it's only been 5 months. You know what I'm saying? So we'll go ahead and take the next person, whoever that is. It looks like it's going to be Purple Thunder. Hey, Purple Thunder, what's up? How are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going really good.
I'm super nervous. Hi. Hello.
Please don't be nervous.
I've been, I caught up on like all the podcast stuff. I've recently got like an office job and this is like super exciting to be on.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. So
thanks
my
for
question,
listening.
I'm mainly YouTube focused. I've been making YouTube videos for like almost 7 years now, but for like the longest time, I've just been very inconsistent. So it didn't really do anything, but I've been taking it a lot more serious recently. Mm-hmm. And the last podcast was super duper helpful for me with Jez.
Yeah.
And
helpful for me too.
Oh, sorry. There was a main question I know you've talked about before. With streaming on Twitch, you can have like a YouTube channel to like supplement that, like upload like highlights and stuff like that. Do you think there's like a good strategy for the other way around, like having a YouTube be your main thing, but maybe like having Twitch to supplement that as well?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at any so many people. There are literally so many people who do this. Like, you can look at people like Jez, you can look at people like Mr. Fruit, you can look at people like Dado. These are people who were making content on YouTube first and then started streaming on Twitch to supplement it. I will say that it's probably, especially if you just listen to the podcast with Jez, it is a lot easier to siphon and control attention on YouTube than it is on Twitch. Like like YouTube is the world's largest media search engine, period. Right? Like, it's the largest video search engine on the planet. It's probably one of the most used repositories of information and all this other stuff, right? Like, I don't know how to do this with my car. I'll just look it up on YouTube. YouTube is much easier to build something to be discovered. Twitch is hoping that you are doing everything right at the right time and the skies open up.
Okay.
Right. There are absolutely, and I mean, that's why we do this podcast. There are best practices. There are ways to approach it, but ultimately there is going to be a huge stroke of luck involved with growing on Twitch. Or you could focus on growing a following in an environment that is a little bit more controlled and a little bit more open to discoverability. Right. And that's, YouTube is that. So I would say 100% focusing on growing your YouTube and then siphoning people from your own YouTube channel to your Twitch channel is a genius move, because so many of my friends have done it so successfully.
The reason that I stream, it was just like the thought process of, if I'm going to be recording like this game or whatever for a YouTube video, might as well stream it kind of deal.
Yes.
And maybe not take it so much seriously, but then eventually it'll be edited and put up on Twitch. So
yeah, I mean, like, that is great. Like, that approach of, okay, well, I'm gonna stream this game because I'm going to be recording it for YouTube anyway, so I'm just going to sort of double dip on my content production. That's what I did with this podcast for an eternity on my channel. I just did the podcast while I was streaming other games, so I was making a podcast while I was streaming, right? Cool. I think that's awesome. One warning that I would give you from every YouTuber that I've had the opportunity of talking with is that it's very difficult to make sure that you're like, you have to know what your number one is. Like, if your number one's going to be YouTube, then like, you don't have to stream absolutely everything,
Gotcha. Okay.
And you can take that from, folks like Bife or Dado that tried streaming a lot and they noticed a direct impact on the quality of their YouTube content. Some of them pulled all the way back from streaming. Some of them it's much, much less, depending on the content cycle that everything is going through. So I would just, say, it's also really important to pay attention to that camera just turned off. It's also very important to make sure that your focus is identified, that you know where you want to have your highest level of output, and you're always tailoring things towards that, knowing how much energy you're putting out
and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's cool. For everyone watching live, it is After Dark Extra right now. So that's starting on YouTube. What other questions you got?
I think I just have one other main one, if you have a second for it.
Okay.
So you've talked a lot about having like a network of content creators together. You've told the story of I think it was K Magic, who had like the group of people and they all started not partnered and then eventually all got partnered together.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have any general tips for that? Like I said before, I'm mainly YouTube focused and it's just like me and a lot of friends, but we're not necessarily like streaming related. One of my buddies, we're doing streaming stuff. So do you have like any general tips if we're like kind of spread out depending on like what platform we use for content creation, or do you think that's mainly like a streaming thing is the main way to go for a group to grow together?
So as somebody who had a group of people that I came up with when I started streaming, I think that those groups form because you just find people that you connect with and you make great content with.
Okay.
So, and what I mean by that is, like, if you look at my like original Twitch team, the Wobblers, it was a group of people, and everyone on the team for the first like year and a half that the team existed, everyone on the team was a speedrunner, because that was sort of how we wanted to focus and tailor that content. We knew that our communities would, translate in between our channels really well, because people liked watching speedrun content. But that happened organically, right? Like, over that period of time, I found people that I liked streaming with or whose content I enjoyed. We became friends, and then we started making content together, and then we made that team. I think that finding those people around you is just sort of a matter of being open and engaging with the community that is surrounding you. Connor had such great advice when he got started, is you shouldn't be looking up for people to partnership. You should be looking around. So you should be looking for people that are about the same size as you, that are making the kind of content that you think is quality content, and then working with them to keep doing that.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right,
Well, I mean,
cool.
it makes
Thank
a
you
lot
very
of
much.
sense now, but it's not super obvious, right?
Yeah.
I
It's
think
like
that a
one
lot
those
of
you gotta hear a
folks,
couple times.
I think that a lot of folks look at like teams of people or content creators that make content together all the time, and they're like, oh, well, they're only doing that because that's what's most numerically advantageous to them. Like, everybody in that group has shit tons of viewers, so of fucking course, right? But the truth behind all of that is, if you simply make sure that you're making the best content you can, and you're working with people who are making the best content that they can, you're all going to grow together. You'll grow to the point of, wherever the ceiling is for what you all like to do. And that's kind of, in my opinion, part of the fun. That's the most fun part of the journey, is finding out how far you can take it.
True. All right, cool. I think that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Awesome,
I appreciate
man.
this.
No, thank you do you have anything you want to shout out? Anybody you want to,
Yes. On YouTube, I am Purple Thunder NE. I've been taking it a lot more seriously, and the growth has been actually really cool, getting like actual viewers and stuff. So Purple Thunder NE. I'm on Twitch. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. You can find me on any there. My username is the same throughout any of them. NE, like Nebraska, one of the most boring states. But there we go. Right, cool.
One of the most boring states. Nah, Nebraska's pretty dope, man. You have like corn.
We make less corn than like Iowa, which is actually funny. So we don't have anything cool, but
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. Well, okay. Thank
Cool.
you so much for tuning in, man. Everybody should go check out Purple Thunder. Do it right now. Thank you for your great questions, and we'll talk to the next person as soon as we can. I think we're getting Power Hunter on next. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Sorry,
Good.
I see someone in chat who needs to get banned, and no one was banning them, so I'm taking care of that. Doing everything. All right. Anyway, there are other people here. It's not just me. Power Hunter. I promise, chat. Power Hunter, what can we do for you?
What's my question?
Yeah, what's your question? Sorry. Yeah.
Well, as a streamer myself, smaller than you, but regardless how it's looked at, I don't care. Size doesn't matter to me.
No, no, you're streaming.
It's all into content created.
Yeah.
You're awesome, by the way. But I'm not the most social on my different social media platforms.
Okay.
Do you know how to break, or at least slowly work your way into becoming someone more sociable?
Like just posting more content in general, or just like interacting more with people?
The interaction portion.
So like you
I have no
tweet something
problem
and people have like a comment, or like, how do you get over the idea of like, oh, I don't know what to say to this person's comment, right? Like that kind of stuff.
That and just getting the gumption up to actually go on and talk.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, the best piece of advice I can give you is the advice I give myself is do it, pussy. What are you, scared? Like that's what I mean. Like that's my advice. That's what I say. Like, what the fuck are you afraid of? What, are they going to not like you? Get the fuck over it. Like
that actually is probably that actually no, that isn't a probably, that is a guaranteed fact. You're correct.
Yeah, I'm not like I'm being humorous, but like I get that. I get the social anxiety of being worried about talking to other people, but like the reality of what you need to do in order to just like interact with people, it's like, just get over yourself. Like none of us are so important that we should be worried what anyone else thinks of what we say. And in the same vein, like nobody else is so much more important than us that we need to be like terrified of their response, right? Like unless you're doing something really stupid and like making a threat. But if you and another person online are talking about a movie and you disagree, who fucking cares? And a very large majority of making content and content creation, and especially in the gaming space, so much of it is just talking about games and what you like and what you don't like. And it's so, it's entertainment based, right? And there's a lot of people that like to try and bring it into a really serious place, but you're in control of what you want to talk about, how you want to talk about it, and how you don't want to talk about it. So if you choose not to engage with people that are negative, that's awesome. If you want to, that's awesome too. I think that being more social on social media is just a matter of realizing, like, one, you shouldn't be afraid of what anyone thinks about what you say. And two, most of the time, if you leave a like or you leave a comment on somebody's content that isn't shitty, people are going to appreciate it. Like, think about the way you feel when a new person you've never seen before likes a tweet or shows up in your chat room. That feeling, you can provide that feeling to someone else as many times as you want every day. And to me, that's like the coolest parts. Like you get to give a gift of like, oh, it's like, here's my like. And don't be all self-righteous about it. Some people are that way, right? Like, I only I'm only going to hang around here for free.
I'm definitely not the self-righteous kind. That's
but it's all a way to make other people's day.
Yeah, that's actually how I view it. Is when I'm creating content, regardless what it ends up being that day, it's to show everybody that I'm having fun.
Mm-hmm.
You guys deserve to see me having fun.
Yeah.
And hell, if people are interested, they can create the entertainment with me.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool. So do you have any follow-up questions?
At this time, I'm actually good. There might be at some other point in the future, but for right now, that actually answered my question very well.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Oh, well, before you go, make sure you let everybody know where they can find you on the internet box.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
You can find me at twitch.tv/PowerHunter3. There is no hyphens or anything like that, if you guys didn't know. It's no capitalizations either. You can also find me on Twitter at PowerHunter3 as well. I was able to change that.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a Facebook page at PowerHunter3.
Okay.
And yeah, I would mention more, but that would take up way too much time.
I understand. Check out Power Hunter 3 anywhere that you can find Power Hunter 3. Easy. Thank you so much. You have a good day, man. We are going to have our next guest, and hopefully everything works this time. It's the Music Man from earlier. Hopefully, maybe. Hey, Music Man. Hello? Music Man. I just want to hear your voice. Just want to know what you're thinking about. So we could do the podcast. So if you unmute your microphone, that would be really nice. So that we could talk. All right. Well, while Music Man's figuring out how to unmute their microphone, we'll take another question from Twitter. A lot of repeat questions from folks on Twitter and even kind of in chat today, which I think is awesome because it's going to give me an opportunity to figure out which experts we can have on the podcast to sort of answer this. Y'all are really focused on the viewer retention is like the thing. So I'm going to see if we could find an expert on that for next week. Let me see if is he talking? Okay, I can't hear him. Okay. Hello?
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Music Man? How are you?
Hey, good. Sorry about all that.
No, it's okay.
So my question is, I am a teacher by day, streamer by night, and I watch a ton of videos on, how to make streaming your profession. And I've listened to your podcast on starting out, and I love both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if there is a middle ground. Like, I have no plans of stopping my teaching job. I think it's the greatest job ever. But I'd love to make streaming a true part-time job.
Yeah.
So
just like a hobby, right? Like a part-time hobby or like a way to monetize your hobby.
Yes, I don't want to go full in
Mm-hmm.
with, it being my 8 to 5 job, just yet, or ever, but I would love to actually make it something that is profitable in some way eventually. I know that's not the main goal, but at the same time, I think I've messaged you on Instagram. I have 3 daughters. I'd love to help prepare for their future a little bit better than sometimes teaching will let me.
Sure.
And
So, I mean, there are quite a few people on Twitch that are partners or whatever that stream as hobbyists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to turn your gaming time every week into streaming time every week, there's no rule that says you can't do that. One of the things that I've been thinking a lot about lately, as I've been observing everybody talking on Twitter or wherever, is that I feel like there's such a focus on numbers right now from literally everyone that there are people who think that there's no middle ground in streaming. Like you're either making $1 million a year and you have 10,000 subs, or you're barely scraping by and you have another full-time job to pay for everything. And there is this gigantic fucking middle ground that exists across the spectrum of people that are earning, decent full-time incomes while streaming 20 hours a week. Like, it literally, streaming is going to end up being whatever you make it. And if you're looking at it as a way to sort of monetize another one of your passions, or to take your hobby and kind of take it to the next level and see where it's going to go, there's nothing that should stop you from doing that. I don't really have any alternate advice in that scenario that I would give to you, like compared to the same advice I'd give to someone else. You just have to contextualize it in a part-time context, right? What does consistency look like since I have a full-time job? What does networking like, or what does being friends or getting my name out there look like, even though I have a full-time job? And it's just sort of redefining what all that stuff means to you, right? I like to try and keep things general here, because I think contextualizing the information is what's going to make your content yours. And the last thing I want anyone to do is to listen to me and then just try and repeat it, because I don't think that the way I do things works for everybody. Right. So yeah.
Well, awesome.
That's the first part.
Yeah, it sounds like I've been trying to follow like your podcast and just I figured I would game anyway for about 4 hours every night, so why not
Yeah.
hit a go live button and see what happens?
I think that that's great. I mean, I also think that there's so many like I don't even know what to call these opportunities, but being the teacher at your school who understands Twitch and live streaming and everything else is not a net zero game for you, right?
Right.
Yeah. Being able to being able to connect with kids about gaming because you know what Twitch is, right? Connect with your students, being able to teach your other teachers and faculty about, live streaming and how it works. I think that live streaming is becoming a more normalized part of media. And so even in like a school environment, you knowing how to do this might turn into even more opportunities for yourself in your average profession, right? Like your vocation, your non-streaming vocation. I was trying to find the right words there.
Right.
And I've seen that happen. Like you never know what engaging on Twitch or engaging in the gaming community could lead to in like 10 years. You could go like from somebody who posts and moderates forums to being the community manager of a AAA studio. Like those are journeys that I've seen people take. So I think it's just jumping in there and doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see the smirks at first when I tell my students that I stream, and then about midway through the semester, they're like, "Hey, I watched your stream last night."
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, it's like, what did I say that maybe might get me fired from my teaching job? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Like if I was in your situation, I would make sure that I kept it squeaky.
Yeah, I always tell people I'm PG. I don't really moderate anybody that I game with because I can't control them. I don't want to. So I try to put that as my disclaimer, but I know that I'm representing more than just me. When I hit that live button, I'm also representing the school that I teach at. So I have to keep things kosher.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, it's a great mindset to have. Because some people look at streaming as, and that's why I was like double checking, right? As it's like an escape. And the last thing I want anyone to do. So if you're listening to this at some point in the future people, don't just like stream as like a fuck you to your old job or do anything as a fuck you to your old job and jeopardize your current financial security while you're trying to work on whatever your side hustle might be. It's not something I want to see anyone go through.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate it very much.
Oh, thanks, man. Can you tell, you want to let everybody know where they can watch your streams? Also, are you a music teacher?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you a music teacher?
I am. That's where I got the name, is the Music Man. I'm a band director.
Nice.
By day.
Nice.
So, yeah. I teach some awesome kids, hopefully teach them some good life lessons and make them some good people along the way. Use music to do it. So, it's cool. Pretty cool gig.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
People can find me. I stream on Facebook. Actually was inspired by Darkness when he kind of went over, and love watching him, watching all you Rare Drop guys. I love watching you guys.
Thank you.
But I'm the Music Man 1 TV. You can find me there. Facebook.gg the Music Man 1 TV.
Freaking nice.
Awesome.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, you have a good one, and everybody go check out Music Man on Facebook. Before we pull in the next person, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's watching. I do read chat during this, and I always want to make sure that chat knows that. I can't answer everyone's questions the second that they happen, or maybe at all. But I do see you, chat, and you are appreciated and a part of this conversation. So I just wanted to say thanks for being here. You're fantastic and cute. And if you'd like to call in with a question, you can go to discord.gg/broman and hang out in the waiting room there, and we'll see if we can't get you on. All right. It looks like next we have Sir Crispy Bacon, who I assume is a knight of some kind of breakfast food. How you
Some
doing,
kind of
Mr.
breakfast
Bacon?
Food.
Some kind, yeah.
The only bacon.
The only. All right. How are you today?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. What questions you got for today?
All right. So, did you ever think that you would be where you are today, aka like living in Florida, streaming, doing podcasts?
Uh-huh.
Like, if you had to look back at like, I just started following you because Darkness 429 is the guy who like kind of introduced me to the whole rail drop and everything.
Yeah.
So, I don't know a lot of your story.
Yeah.
But like, what point, or no, let's focus on this one. Like, where, like,
Mhm.
did you ever think you would be where you are today?
No.
Right?
No, like not
right?
at all. No. Yeah, no. I mean, that's an easy question. Yeah, I mean, I was always really driven. Like every dead end job I had, I always tried to find a way out of it, right? Like whether it was like, oh, I work at a hospital, well, then I'll just go to school and I'll become like a nurse, and then like maybe an LPN, and then like maybe get my like go become a doctor or some shit, right? Or like when I worked at Starbucks, I was like, well, being a barista fucking sucks. So,
No way, dude. I worked at Starbucks.
I worked at Starbucks for a long time. Like when I worked at Starbucks, I was like, oh, well, this fucking sucks. I guess I could like become a shift manager and then a manager and then like a regional manager and all this other stuff. So I always had this plan of like, I knew I didn't want to just be in one place my entire life. So no matter where I was at, I was always like trying to move forward, like progress along that path.
Mhm.
And so when I started streaming, I was doing in-home care. I was a resource manager, so I had like 3 homes that I managed. I think we had like 5 clients, like adults with disabilities. So we would manage, like, and I loved that job. It was like probably one of my favorite jobs. So you manage doctor's appointments and like medication, and you help people get around and do scheduling and things like that. And I was learning while I was doing that, I was learning from the guy that owned the company I was working for about how to apply for like the federal or whatever grants were associated with, starting an assisting business like that. And I was going to do that and, try and grow and help more people and, make jobs for the social workers that were in St. Louis, because I had a lot of friends that were going to the School of Social Work there. So like I always had this desire to move forward. That's what I was working on when I started streaming. And I found streaming, I found streaming through a charity event, which is hilarious. And I started streaming on Twitch because I wanted to do charity on Twitch, playing games. So that part of my story has remained really true, throughout my whole time streaming. But yeah, like when I got started, the goal was have fun and raise money and like get enough attention, like prove that I'm good enough at the streaming thing that they'll let me into the speedrunning marathons. Which, I did. That was awesome. I got to be part of AGDQ 2015. Or no, 14. God, it's been, oh my God. Yep. No, AGDQ 2014. So I did the Borderlands 2 4-player speedrun and Surgeon Simulator speedrun there, if you want to look up the VODs. So, that's what kind of got me started. And then that innate desire to sort of constantly improve and make take whatever I'm doing to the next level. With traditional employment, it was really easy, just get a promotion, right? But with streaming, it was a lot more intangible. So it was like, oh, how do I get more viewers? Or like, how do I have more fun on stream? Or like, how do I make the stream? There was just so many different verticals that I could improve upon if I wanted to, that I found it super fascinating. And I just kind of went all in on like creating stuff. And then eventually it turned into an opportunity where I could, take a shot at going full time. And I did. So that's kind of like my story. Yeah.
Yeah, streaming is a very multifaceted thing.
Yeah.
So at that point where you went full time, like, can you remember back to the thoughts you were having then? Like were you like, wow, I'm like legitimately doing this. Like, this is going to be my future. Like, or like, are you more kind of like live in the moment, guys? So you just kind of taking it in. You're like, all right, I have enough funds. Like, we're going to do this. Like,
I don't, well, I mean, when I went full time, I was at a place in my life where it made sense to do that. Like I wasn't like worried about being homeless or anything like that anymore. Because I had worried about that previously in my life. But like I was in a place where, it was my turn to take the risk in the relationship I was in at the time. And so since everything else was paid for, and things were going pretty well on Twitch, I thought, we'll give it 6 months, see if I can't replace my minimum wage job income. And because that's what I told myself, is that if you're not good enough to make minimum wage doing this, then you're not good enough to do it. So you should, kill that dream and go back to reality. Mm-hmm. But when I finally got to when I finally got partnered, that was awesome, but it wasn't as like, I didn't have some sort of like transcendent tears experience because like I had a fucking goal, right? My goal was get partnered so that I could make enough money so that I could keep, doing this as my job. So like partnership was cool, but I was like, fuck, let's fucking go. Cause I needed to get to like 400 subs so that I was making enough money to like offset my minimum wage job. And I think that perspective is something that's really important. Getting affiliate or getting partnership on Twitch is goddamn not proof that it is time for you to go full time.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely proof that you've passed the job interview and you've proved yourself adept enough to attempt to make streaming your full-time job. And I think that is really, really important. The ease of access to monetization on Twitch can really send you a false positive about how much money you can earn, or how much money you're going to earn consistently. And it's very important to put, restrictions and goals on things, especially if you're, looking to replace income, or if you're married, or like you have a kid, like you have responsibilities that's more than just you. It's especially important to pay attention to what is, what's going on financially when you go full time. So that's the next part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I went full time, I didn't have like a transcendent moment. I had like a sigh of relief. I was like, oh God, okay, cool. Well, what's next? And I mean, it's great. I know that I'm built like that. And like, I think that that's great, but it doesn't give me a lot of time to like stop and smell the roses, which is something I'm trying to get better at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like for me, like going right now is like streaming 4 hours every day, working at Starbucks every night.
Mm-hmm.
Like at this point, like this coming year, it's like my goal is then to be able to still stream during the day, but then stop working at Starbucks so I can spend time with my wife in the evenings. Things like that. And so, cool. Well, I appreciate your time and asking questions, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for tuning in. Did you want to? And my headphones died here because they were doing this, and you don't have to do that. Okay. Did you want to shout yourself out and let people know where they can find you?
So Crispy Bacon on Facebook. So
yeah, all right, Crispy Bacon on Facebook. Yeah, that's 2 back to back. Facebook. Okay, I see you, Facebook. That's actually really interesting. Before we bring on our next person, I don't have it like all the numbers directly in front of me, but the year in review of streaming for last year showed that Facebook had a like pretty considerable amount of market share gain when it comes to streaming and hours watched and people are streaming. So it's really interesting because when Facebook first announced that they were going to start, hey, come live streaming your gaming on Facebook, everyone's like, oh, that's fucking stupid, it's going to fail. And they're actually starting to take a significant amount of market space, and it's because grandmas really, really, really like video games, is the joke that chat always makes. I think it's because it's the biggest social media platform on the world, and there are gamers everywhere. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get our next person here. It's gonna be Shweevy, who has designed, I believe, one of the shirts, the "Get Paid While You Poop" shirt from the most recent jam. Hey, what's up, Shweevy? How you doing?
Hey, Broman, I'm doing good. How are you?
I am phenomenal.
Okay. Well, long time listener, first time caller.
Nice to talk to you.
I'm curious to get your thoughts from the community building aspect side of things.
Sure.
I want one of the reasons why I'm really interested in the stream is the idea that I can kind of market myself to people who have similar disability to me.
Okay.
But I don't want to make that the focus of the channel because I don't feel like, oh, you have to have X, Y, and Z in order to come with us. So is there a way to like kind of get that out there without making it focus?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing I'll tell you is that you're in charge of like your channel and the messaging behind your channel, right? And do you mind if I ask, like, what is the disability that you live with?
Not at all. I'm hard of hearing, so I have a
Okay.
hearing aid, and
Okay.
it's not exactly a subset of people who are watching streams. I feel like, but
Sure.
for the few that are out there,
Mhm.
I'd like for there to be a home for them, kind of, because it doesn't feel like there is one for me if I wanted to go talk to somebody with a similar disability that I
Sure.
have.
So, this is actually something that nice camera went down again. This is actually something that I think would happen a lot more naturally than you think. You know, there's a few things about me. You know, I have attention deficit disorder. I have Crohn's disease. These are things that, you know, like they're not super obvious. They're not super visible, but in talking about them, people who are listening go, oh my God, like this is someone that I can relate with. I think that simply by sharing what it is that you have going on, right? Like simply by sharing, you know, oh, hey, you know, I don't know if you noticed, but I have this hearing aid over here, and just casually talking about your life is going to make people feel welcome. And that I think that that's incredibly important, kind of regardless of where you're at. Like, all of us have stuff that we've been through or stuff that we deal with every single day to varying degrees of severity, right? But sharing our struggle and sharing what we are going through on a daily basis, we're going to attract people that are going through similar things. And so simply to sort of take it back to some of the earlier questions, on all the social media that you're around with, like if there's causes that you're passionate about, like engage with those things openly on social media so people know, like, this is something that you care about. This is a place where I can feel safe because this guy, he's out there on Twitter talking about this. He's out there on Instagram talking about this. So I know that he has like a stake in the game. And then if they stop by your stream or they stop by any of the other content you're making, and they happen to be there the moment where you're like, oh yeah, no, of course I have a hearing aid. And then they get to be there for that whole discussion, and it's a very welcoming, community building, aspect, which is exactly what you want, right?
Right.
Communities are built one person at a time, and especially when, like you're at where you are at, you are looking for a very particular type of person that you want to make feel welcome because, you don't feel like you're as welcome as you could be in some other places. And so I think that's an incredibly noble goal. And I think that, going about it in a way that you probably go about your everyday life, you don't let what's wrong with you define you. What's wrong, air quotes, with you, define you every single day, right? Like I could wake up every day and I could say like, oh, well, I'm going to be distracted today and it's going to be really hard for me to get work done and read things and like whatever, because I have this laundry list of stuff that makes that shit difficult for me.
Right.
But instead, like, I focus on like, okay, well, I am going to do these things, and I'm going to defy this, this diagnosis that I have every day by trying to, improve myself and get better at it. And Like that's how I deal with it. I don't know how you deal with it, but like all of the things that I'm saying, you have a context for those in the way that you live your life. And in that context, people are going to find ways to connect with you and, you know, like, you know, bond with you and build a community of people just like what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get that. There is a commonality between you and me when you talk about dealing with your ADD or your Crohn's disease, because it's a similar situation, but there's differences to each one of things that we all have.
Yeah.
It's nice to find somebody who's kind of understands where you're coming from without having to explain the entire background.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't see it, but I'm very enthusiastic, nodding my head yes to it.
Yeah. There's no video.
The only other kind of smaller segue into from that I wanted to ask you about is about like when you network or partner with people of like similar or smaller size. Is playing with them or like getting together and like setting the moti or whatever, you know, in that context, necessary part of that partnership? Because, you know, maybe you see where I'm coming from now, but I'm not exactly comfortable in like that group conversation, and I get quiet fast when that happens.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm wondering how much of an impact that kind of aspect of the partnership has.
I mean, like I think that you can find people who want to, you know, work with you as you are, right? I used to have a hard time streaming with other folks. Like and this is back when everything was on Skype, so you're like constantly talking over each other, and there was like all this like stress. I think collaboration is like the space is older, so collaboration has evolved and it has a lot of different things. I think if it's somebody that you know really connect with and you say, hey, like I'd love to play together, but I'm not going to be on voice the whole time. Like, does that bother you? And if they say yes, then like, okay, you don't do the multi-stream, or they'll say no, and then you do. You know, I think that the reason, from a viewer's standpoint, the reason why people like enjoy collaboration is it's a new thing, right, to watch. And, you know, who knows what'll happen with this new person around. But you know, it can go a lot further than that as well. If you want, if you want, you know, it can be a really simple, we just raid together and we're in the same lobby hanging out, and not talking to each other, just talking to our chats, or it can be like a super interactive experience.
Okay.
You know, it's up to you.
Yeah. Thanks. That actually helps a lot. I mean, I definitely have a lot of better ideas now about that. So thank you.
No problem. Do you want to let everybody know where they can, you know, go find your content?
Yeah, sure. I mean, right now I'm just doing digital illustrations, that I'm sure you know and already mentioned. You can find all of that stuff on Twitter. My handle is Schweevy, SCHWEEVY. I'm also Schweevy on every single other platform. If you feel like following me,
yes,
I'm pretty much the only Schweevy out there. I've yet to see anybody else use it, as it's a name I completely made up from letters. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, well, go follow Schweevy. I vouch big for Schweevy. Schweevy has made some killer fan art that's made it into my channel in the form of emotes or shirts. So I can definitely tell you that if you've got a good sense of humor, you will like Schweevy. Thank you for hey man, any kind of promo I can give you is well worth it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for hanging out. You have a good one, man. All right, let's take our next person. This is Intergeek Designs. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
Excellent.
So my question is, just a little backstory before my question is, this year is the first year that I've gone full-time freelance. So
what do you do freelance?
Freelance graphic, web design, and marketing.
Gotcha. Okay.
And on top of that, my girlfriend is helping me part-time doing sales and stuff and all that stuff. 'Cause
Okay.
as she puts it, she's less blunt than me.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So my question is, how do you get comfortable with giving up control on things that you've been doing for years?
That's a fantastic question, and this is just the most appropriate time to ask it.
That's what I thought.
So one of the things that you have to realize as you grow or as you change as a content creator, things around you are going to change too. And when you hand off responsibilities, I think it's really important to know, number one, that the same problems that you deal with every single day are still going to fucking happen, right? Like, I don't think it's like it's not helpful to like fly off the handle if a camera randomly stops working a few times, because I've had my camera randomly just fucking break for 5 days. So I think that number one, when it comes to like passing on control, you have to recognize same problems that were happening before are going to keep happening. It's just someone else's responsibility. And that person didn't make the problem. That's very important. I think that's a pitfall that a lot of people jump into. Number two, make sure that you over communicate your expectations. If you don't appropriately communicate your expectations and then something doesn't get done, whose fault is it? It's your fault. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's your fault for not you're like, well, you didn't fucking do it the way I wanted you to. And they're like, how do you want me to do it? Like, they shouldn't be able to ask you that question, right? Like, they should know what you want. If they don't, then like you didn't actually give up control of that idea. So over communicate. And then I think the third part is, and this is very hard for me. This is something that I'm learning, because I was raised by a family where I was told something one time and I was expected to remember it and never have it repeated to me once. So I kind of lived in that sort of really restricted environment, and I had to remember the rules of the house after only being told once. What I've come to realize is that most people didn't live that kind of crazy life, and it's normal that people need reminders about stuff. So following up after you communicate information, following up to make sure quality standards are still being met, making sure that everything is, functioning the way that it's supposed to, finding out if there's any sort of day-to-day problems, just making sure that like you're aware of the things that you care about, not to micromanage them, not to like critique them or any of that stuff. It is just so that because it's something that you're passionate about. You're going to be working with your girlfriend, correct? Yep. And I assume you're giving some control over to her with some stuff.
Yes, mainly sales and stuff like that.
Mainly sales and stuff, and so, you're at in this unique position that you have the ability to, if you want to, you can just sit back and say, if she's great at sales, she's going to crush it, whether or not, you're guiding the hand, because it's so unique. But that is what I would recommend. Like, those are my top 3 things for being comfortable giving up control of something that you've managed for a long time. Like, I say this to you sitting here in a room where all I'm doing is talking to a microphone, and it's like I'm walking on the moon to me. The fact that I'm like not running the audio board and the broadcast board and managing and like running the chat and running my camera and like constantly monitoring my bit rate, and like my dogs aren't barking downstairs. Like, this whole thing, this whole thing is so bizarre to me because I'm used to having complete control over everything. But I also know that when everything's working and there aren't random problems, which is literally never, because we live in a world where technology breaks. But I know that for me, it is infinitely easier now to show up and just do the podcast and I have a significantly smaller barrier between, like the idea of doing something and actually doing it, because I don't have to put in the 3 hours of work to set up everything to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
That's
the only
anytime.
question I have.
Okay. Well, do you want to let everybody know what your freelance business is and like try and, bring in some paper?
Yeah. So you can find us anywhere on the internet at Inner Geek Designs. We're on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere. And this year we are fully rolling out our streamer branding packages also.
Oh, cool. So
Yep.
you'll be doing like full branding sets for people as well.
Yep.
Cool.
Except emotes.
Cool. All right. Well, listen, chat, or anyone who's listening to this, you can check out Inner Geek Designs. Okay. Or Inner Geek Designs, my bad. INNERGEEK Designs. I can't, like, what's bad about when I can't say a name the right thing? I try to spell it and my spelling's like even worse. So I feel like
I have the same problem.
I cock it up so bad. But yeah, check out Inner Geek Designs if you need anything. I give them a hearty vouch. You better not do bad by me, bud. I swear to God.
Nope, I won't.
I'm just messing with you. Thank you so much for joining in. All right. So that's gonna be the last person we're taking from calls. That's the last person we're taking from calls because we've been having technical issues, and I'd like to make sure that those get ironed out, and I'd also like to eat dinner and all that stuff. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast. The only thing I ask you to do is share it with somebody who you think might learn something. I really enjoy doing the Q&A today. If you want to get your questions answered, we are live on twitch.tv/raredrop every Monday at 7 p.m. for the time being. If you want to join in the discussion, you need to go to discord.gg/broman. I like having people on voice. I feel like it gives us, more context to our conversations and things like that. I promise I don't bite. So we'll probably be doing the next full Q&A session, I would imagine, in like 2 or 3 weeks. So maybe July 3rd. But until then, like, I'm always available on Instagram. You can send me a DM. On Twitter, you can always just, at me. I'm Professor Broman everywhere. I'd love to answer your question if you have it. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.